All right. Welcome back to Blue Pill Podcast. Sorry. I'm so used to saying the other. So this will be the third episode for today. I know I've been putting them out like crazy, but with my new job, I feel like I haven't been able to put out as many as I used to. Podcasting back in the day. With my old job, I was able to podcast more. That and me and Sammy are actually kind of on the same schedule now. So obviously I'm going to hang out with my wife as much as possible, rather than podcasting. I love podcasting, but I love my wife more, happy wife, happy life. But yeah, I have a little bit of time. She doesn't get off until 1:30 today. Today's August 1st, 2026. It's 12 right now, 12:10. So I figured I got some time. It's my day off. These are some episodes that I've been wanting to do for a minute. So I'm kind of catching up on podcasting today, because it's rainy weather and I'm supposed to be weed eating and trimming trees right now, but it's literally rainy outside. So doesn't look like that's going to happen, which is fine because, honestly, I can sit here and podcast and have fun, play video games, So, yeah, as far as updates, nothing really new. Just tried out that new stud finder. It worked. It seems like it works. Put a battery in it. Yeah, check the mail. I got a $113 hospital bill. So that's always fun, Where's it at? Yeah, right there. $113. So, this is back because I have no health insurance. And, I suffer from MDD and sometimes I slip into psychosis. But hey, if you want to help me pay the bill, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. I will send you a signed bookmark of Conspiracy Corner Podcast. Unless you don't want me to sign it, you can message me through Buy Me a Coffee. And by the way, I'm not some grifter or anything. I have a 40-hour work week. I work construction. My wife works. But I put out podcasting for free. None of this shit's ever behind a paywall. If you just want to help me out and help me pay some bills, if you like the work that I put out and you think I deserve a tip, hook me up. But yeah, let's get on with the show. So I know already, I've put out, this will be my third Zelda episode today. Like I said, I'm really into Zelda right now. I go through phases on stuff, and I'll tell you this. I will let you know something about the psychology of Abe. If I am in a good mood and I'm mentally sound and I mentally feel good, you'll notice a trend. I put out more Blue Pill podcast than Conspiracy Corner. When I'm a little unhinged and more black-pilled and a little more edgy and angry with the world and discouraged, you'll notice I put out more Conspiracy Corner. So don't look at it as a bad thing that I'm putting out more Blue Pill content. But yeah, I do apologize if you are a Conspiracy Corner listener. I will get back to putting out Conspiracy Corner podcast, don't worry. And by the way, there's like 700 episodes of backlog, and a lot of those episodes are timeless. So go through the backlog. Maybe you missed an episode. Maybe there's some subject matter of timeless conspiracies that you might find interesting. So, today I put out 2 Legend of Zelda related episodes. I have a Zelda playlist on YouTube. Go check it out. It's got all the Zelda episodes. We did the origin of the Triforce and the Hojo clan, because it's based off an actual historical symbol. Go check that out. The episode before that, we covered the origin of Zelda's name. She's named after Zelda Fitzgerald, the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby. And then we covered the episode before that, Zelda and Christianity. A lot of people don't know this, but Christianity was the original religion of Hyrule, and they took all the Christian symbolism out of the game. So we kind of been doing Zelda history. And today we're going to be covering Zelda 2 and Sleeping Beauty. In a way, it is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty in a Zelda format, Zelda style. And yeah, let's dive into it. And by the way, I have covered Zelda 2 as far as a game review. Go check that out. It's called Adventure of Link Review. I will link it down below if you're listening on Spotify, because you get the choice of 2 episodes whenever you're uploading related episodes. I'll put it down there, but you can find it in the Zelda playlist on YouTube. So this is an article, and we're going to do a read-along with commentary. Legendary Pictures. Sleeping Beauty and its formative influence on Zelda. Over the years, Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto has been outspoken about his love for classic Disney films. Okay, I didn't know he was a Disney adult. I mean, because Sleeping Beauty technically is based off of an older work. I want to say Grimm Fairy Tales did a version of it. I could be wrong, though. The Grimm brothers. Yeah, I mean, I could... Honestly, though, I could see that, because not last episode, but the episode before, when we were talking about, what was the Zelda Fitzgerald, the origin for the name of Zelda is the episode title. We were talking about Robin Williams and the weird Zelda synchronicities with Robin Williams. Peter Pan. I do know that Miyamoto has said that Link was based off of Peter Pan. Obviously, I mean, if you can't tell the influence of Peter Pan with Link, with the fairies, with the green outfit, he's an elf, you know. He has a sword, you know. If you can't tell the similarities, I don't know what to tell you. But, so that would make sense if he was inspired by the Peter Pan, not so much the fairy tale, but, the Disney movie, you know. It would make sense that he is a Disney adult. So, and about their influence on his own creative work, as an aspiring cartoonist in his youth, so I didn't know that, Miyamoto apparently wanted to be a cartoonist back in the day. He looked to the characters of Disney's golden age for inspiration, and upon breaking into the video game industry, elements from those animated classics invariably informed his early works. Miyamoto has even admitted that Disney's Peter Pan served as an inspiration for Link in Legend of Zelda, which we just covered. I'm such a nerd. By the way, I haven't read this, by the way, so I'm just a nerd, dude. With that said, it stands to reason that, whether consciously or unconsciously, the final fairy tale adaptation of Disney's Golden Age and the feature animation served as the influence for the Legend of Zelda series, and more specifically, on the early years of the Legend of Zelda series, so Zelda 1 and 2. specifically Zelda 2, which we're talking about today. Zelda 2 Adventure of Link. The Black Sheep. It's the only. It's not the only side-scroll Zelda. There is a LCD game which we covered in a previous episode. I'll try to remember to link it down below in Spotify. But there's also Zelda's Adventure. Well, no, not Zelda's Adventure. That was one of the Philips CDI games, but there's 3 Philips CDI games. There's 2 of them. One you play as Link, and the other one you play as Zelda, and both of those are actually side scrolls. So there's actually altogether 4 different side scroll Legend of Zeldas. And if you play Link's Awakening, there's actually side scroll segments in that game. And there's side scroll segments in Zelda 1. They're just segments, you know, so technically they're not side scroll. But with that said, it stands to reason that whether consciously or unconsciously, the final fairy tale, okay, we read that. That film, that culturally enduring Sleeping Beauty, presents a wealth of artistic elements in its visual style, in its characters, and in its story that could have been, and likely were, used as a template for Link's earliest adventures, specifically Zelda 2. And here's a screenshot of Zelda 2, the opening sequence of Zelda. So if you don't know, and you can look up a PDF of the Zelda 2 manual. I would like to get one day the original boxes for, well, when I say original, I mean for Game Boy Advance, because I have a copy of the Game Boy Advanced Zelda 2 cartridge and Zelda 1 cartridge. I want to get boxes and manuals for each one. That way they look nice on a shelf, and plus the manuals are nice to have because the first 2 Zeldas specifically do not have a lot of storyline within the game. You get kind of like the Star Wars rolling credit or rolling intro, but you don't really get a lot of dialogue and storyline within the game. You have to read the manual to get most of the story. So The Legend of Zelda is like a legend within Hyrule. The Zelda from the first Legend of Zelda is not the same Zelda on the second one. Basically, to sum it up, and we can, if we have time at the end of this episode, we can delve deeper into it. But to sum it up, the original Zelda, the very first Zelda, which all of the offspring from the royal Hyrule bloodline, from that day forth, all the girls are named Zelda. Once again, we kind of get into Link and Zelda are titles, you know. Not so much names. They are, but they're not. They were all named after this sleeping princess. Her and her brother, the Prince of Hyrule, kind of had... They were like... He was trying to get the Triforce of Courage, I believe. He ended up hanging out with some wizard. The wizard put the original Zelda under a sleeping spell, and now she's under, like Sleeping Beauty, an eternal sleep. The most obvious connection between Sleeping Beauty and the Zelda series lies in the scenario of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which I believe has the most overt references to the Disney classic. Years after his first adventure, on the first adventure he was 10 years old, on the second one he is 15 years old, and he's just about to have his 16th birthday. It specifically says that in the manual. And you can notice the difference too, because on Zelda 1, which we talked about in the previous episode, it's very post-apocalyptic. All the people are living in caves. There's no towns. Everything's in ruins. Everything is like dystopian looking. Ganon rules the land. And then once you slay Ganon, Hyrule starts to prosper again. That's why in Zelda 2 it introduced towns and people that you can talk to. Dialogue for the first time in the Zelda series. So years after his first adventure, Link discovers a slumbering princess. Basically, the Triforce appears on his hand. He goes to Impa, who he had come across on the first Zelda when he was 10 years old. She is basically Zelda's handmaiden. The Zelda from the first one. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. There's timelines and it gets confusing. And he goes to Impa and he's like, what's this symbol? What does it mean? That's where the Triforce on the left hand comes from. She says it's a symbol that opens a secret door within Castle Hyrule. They open the door and there's Princess Zelda, the original Princess Zelda, sleeping, you know. So Link discovers a slumbering princess from generations past that had been locked away in a far-off temple, until a destined hero rose up to wake her. Like Princess Aurora of Sleeping Beauty, this Princess Zelda was the victim of a sleeping spell. So our hero, like Prince Philip, sets out to reverse the enchantment. Aurora, so like Aurora in the sky, so occultism. Dun dun dun. Illuminati confirmed. I'm sorry. I don't have to hammer home similarities between this narrative and that of Sleeping Beauty. Looking at the mirror images of Princess Zelda and Princess Aurora sleeping on their respective beds sells that more than anything. In fact, other than a few superficial differences, such as Link's quest to restore the 6 palaces and secure the Triforce of Courage versus Philip's singular goal of reaching Aurora, the basic conflicts of the film and the game are essentially the same. It literally is, when you're playing Zelda 2, not literally, but similarly, you are playing Sleeping Beauty. And I even noticed that as a kid. It's very on the nose, but you would be surprised how silly people are. And by the way, I'm not bashing anyone's intelligence. This is kind of funny. Listen to this shit. So, speak of the devil, Disney. Oh, by the way, I have a Disney playlist now. Go check it out. It's just Disney subjects, whether it's Conspiracy Corner, game reviews. It's Disney talk in general, because I know there is a lot of Disney adults out there, you know. All are welcome here. So, this is how silly I am sometimes. Like, I'm an occultist. I sit here and study symbolism and occultism, which occult means hidden. I love this type of shit. Etymology, symbology, symbolism, occultism, witchcraft, you know, sigils, symbols. I love all this Da Vinci Code shit. But every now and then, there is something so on the nose and obvious in front of me, and I'm such a burnout, and you can tell that I was in special ed, because, so, I did a review on Treasure Planet, the video game for Game Boy Advanced, I think it was last year, I did a review on it. It's a good game, go check out that review. And this is how dumb I am, and I'm bashing myself. I didn't realize until after playing the game, while I was playing the game, of like the storyline and shit, I was going, this is Treasure Island. Wait a second, Treasure Island, Treasure Planet. So like, I didn't realize that it was literally a remake of Treasure Island, but a futuristic remake. Instead of islands and like setting sail on seas, it was setting sail in space and planets. It's a sci-fi remake of Treasure Island. And I literally walked up to my wife. I said, I'm retarded. She went, what are you talking about? I said, I just now realized that Treasure Planet's a remake of Treasure Island. I said, I feel so stupid. She said, and her brother was visiting us at the time. He just started laughing. He said, you burnout, you know, like, he's like, you just now realized that? I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. So, let's get back to this. So a princess afflicted by an enchanted sleep must be awakened by a noble hero. That hero risks his life and restores the princess to the waking world, challenging a dragon and more to do so. And by the way, you do have to fight a dragon in this. It's kind of like a sea serpent. I think his name is like, I can't remember. It starts with a V. He literally like is a sea serpent type dragon that like swims in lava. He's in one of the dungeons. It's a hard boss too. That whole game is hard, by the way. Zelda 2 is like one of the hardest Zeldas. I haven't even beaten it. I got like all the way up to Death Mountain, and I ended up just reviewing it because I had enough to talk about. But I was like, dude, this game is hard as fuck. And I maxed Link out as far as grinding, and I still haven't beaten it. One day I will, though. As far as fantasy scenarios go, Sleeping Beauty provides a rich yet simple template to build a game upon, especially given the limitations the 8-bit generation had on storytelling. The conflict, objective, and stakes are clear from the beginning, and there's still room in the adventure of Link's plot for the threat of Ganon's return and a grand adventure spanning several quote-unquote levels. And I totally agree with that statement. So, Zelda 2 is very different in the game series. So, like, Zelda 1, obviously, there's a cave and an opening, and you just literally walk to get your wooden sword. But, Zelda 2, you automatically start off with the magical sword, with a shield. There are no upgrades to your weapons. There are no items. Well, there are items, but, like, there's not. Like, there's no... It's hard to explain. It's an RPG. It is the one and only Zelda RPG that I would say. There's no rupees. There's no shops. You have to build up your magic and your life. After levels up, you have to gain experience points. It's an RPG. There's an argument in general if Zelda, the series, is an RPG or an action adventure. I say that the majority of Zeldas are an action adventure. Well, pretty much all of them. Zelda 2 is the only time I will draw the line in the sand and put my foot down and say, Zelda 2 is an RPG. It's the only Zelda, in my opinion, that is an RPG. The other ones are just action adventure. But yeah, I do love how it just starts off with a bang. You're in Castle Hyrule. You literally, that screenshot that I showed you earlier, you start off right there. There's Princess Zelda sleeping. You're in Castle Hyrule. You have the magical sword. You ain't even gotta, like, get the wooden sword and the silver sword and then the magical sword. Because you had already beat Zelda 1, and because it's chronological order and it's a sequel to it, you start off with the magical sword. You know, it's pretty much like, it just throws you right in. Like, it's a great sequel. Like, you don't have to start from square one. You kind of start off with a bang. They did a really good job with that. So, furthermore, players familiar with Sleeping Beauty naturally project elements from the film onto the game, without the game having to explicitly call those elements to mind. For example, players may project themes of romance on Zelda 2, which, by the way, at the ending of Zelda 2, it's not even really projecting. The curtain closes and you see Zelda and Link's feet after you wake her up. Spoiler alert. They move closer, and then you see like a little heart, and it's essentially hinting that they're kissing. And if you know anything about the Zelda history, so the game just called Zelda, the LCD, which a lot of people call Zelda 1.5. It's in between Zelda 1 and in between Zelda 2. It does have a storyline. It literally says in the booklet, the manual of it, that Zelda is Link's love interest, his girlfriend, you know. So there is a romance going on with the original, very first brunette Link. My favorite Link. Obviously, I'm a brunette. Like, I got to root for the one and only brunette. After that and any others Link, he became like blonde. Not because the game necessarily presents those themes, but because it parallels Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty invite those preconceptions. The Adventure of Link owes more than its story to Sleeping Beauty 2, the film's distinctive art style. The product of artist and illustrator Eyvind Earl. Ooh, that's a strong name. Eyvind Earl. Eyvind, too. Ayvind, and an Earl, Earle. That's a strong ass fucking name. That sounds badass, dude. Eyvind Earl. Strong emphasis, straight lines, and distinct layers. Not only is the style inspired by medieval art and tapestries, and thus it inherently carries an air of fantasy and antiquity, but at several points throughout the movie, it's clear that characters and the world exist on specific planes, which each new layer pushing further from the foreground into the background. The art style seems tailor-made for reappropriation in a Nintendo title, but can only present images with rigid pixels, limited color palettes, and only two layers, sprite and background. This is even more so the case in a side-scrolling game like Zelda 2. At times, Sleeping Beauty presents its story in a style not unlike a stage play or a side-scrolling video game, as characters move from left to right within a scene rather than from a foreground and background. And here's a little screenshot imagery of Sleeping Beauty. There's a castle in the background. Castle Hyrule. Zelda. By the way, I do have to say, I will name this probably some clickbait. I just wanted to basically give you the storyline of like, the history, back history of why or how Zelda 2 was inspired by Sleeping Beauty. But obviously, and there's a little inside baseball here. Every YouTube and podcast content creator in general uses clickbait. So the title will be titled something ridiculous like Zelda 2 is a Sleeping Beauty ripoff. It'll be something along those lines. I'll title this video. It gets people to click on it, for one. And two, it is what it is. And if there's a content creator who says they don't use clickbait, every content creator uses clickbait. So I hope you forgive me. But I will title it something crazy like that, you know. So Earl's distinctive art style works to bring the fairy tale world of Sleeping Beauty to life. And that world is full of traditional fantasy elements that have been recycled for centuries. While I don't wish to assert The Legend of Zelda borrowed any of these things from Sleeping Beauty in particular, I do wish to mention that both the film and the games feature castles and towers, kings and queens, knights and monsters, kings and queens and guillotines. Sorry, I'm an Aerosmith fan. Swords and shields, curses and dragons. It's clear that both properties are drawing from the same well. But in doing so, Hyrule, especially in its earliest incarnations, inherently resembles the kingdom presented in Sleeping Beauty. The first major location in Sleeping Beauty is King Stefan's castle, seemingly the only settlement, and what we can assume is the center, if not geographical, then certainly in regards to the influence of quote-unquote the kingdom. Beginning with A Link to the Past, Hyrule Castle is traditionally placed at the center of its respective kingdom, with all other areas extending outward from it. I believe the choice to place Hyrule Castle adds to the structure's significance, especially with its first appearance in the series. So, Zelda 2, I believe it's based pretty much in the center. There's Upper and Lower Hyrule, and then there's Eastern Hyrule, which they did expand. They have the original map, which is Southern Hyrule, from Zelda 1 on Zelda 2, but they did expand it on Zelda 2. And And he is right. Thinking back, like playing Minish Cap, Hyrule Castle, and A Link to the Past, which I need to review one day. You're going to be surprised, my opinion on that one. Hyrule Castle is always the heart of Hyrule. But yeah, I just wanted to get into that. I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. Zelda 2 is a ripoff of Sleeping Beauty. No, it's just inspired, and it's loosely, kind of honestly, in a weird way, it's kind of a remake of Sleeping Beauty. I love y'all. Please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you all enjoyed. Please check out the Zelda playlist. I put out 2 other Zelda episodes today, so I hope you enjoy those. And I may or may not put out more episodes. Probably not. I'm probably going to hang out with the missus for the rest of the day. This might be my last episode for today, but hope y'all enjoyed. Y'all have a good day.